morning. My name is Christy, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the CA Software Change Management Global User Community Webcast conference call. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question-and-answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. I would now like to hand the program over to Mr. Neil Kalmus. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon all, depending on where you're joining us. Thanks for calling in or logging on to the quarterly CA Change Manager Global Community meeting. Today we have a great presentation that's going to be given by Mark Dickinson, who is a principal consultant in the technical sales area for CA Technologies. Mark is going to be presenting the CA Clarity, CA Product Vision, Agile Vision integration with CA SCM. So it's going to kind of demo an end-to-end integrated solution that can provide our teams, change management teams, a clear visibility into our projects and the costs, as well as the current status of those using the integration with PV-AV, which is the cloud-based product that CA is offering on a subscription basis. So, Mark, I believe I'm going to turn it over to you. I believe we're going to take questions throughout the course of the call. If there's anything super involved, we can hold that till the end, but feel free to speak up if you have any questions or would like to see something. Mark, without further ado, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. I'll position the slides. Yeah, corporations, such as you all on the line, are looking for ways to get to market faster with new technology to drive revenue growth. Corporate IT is looking for more agility in the development process. This is driving adoption of agile development methodology, and many of you have probably heard the term or are looking at agile methodology yourself. But corporate IT development projects share common resources that can cross agile and non-agile projects. Additionally, when you deal with products, there's product launch activities and introduction activities such as documentation, user acceptance training, marketing, distribution, and they're usually dependent upon more traditional plan-driven scheduling that you would get out of, say, project management, such as Clarity. The result is, though, that for many IT organizations, they have to manage a blend of waterfall and agile projects in the development process, some of which have inter-project dependencies. The newest release of Software Change Manager, the SP3 release, provides that key integration with Clarity and CA Vision, which allows for both governance and effective execution. As you see here, the governance side that you're going to get out of, see if I can paint this slide a little bit quicker. The governance issue that you get out of Clarity is driven down into what they call product vision. So CA Vision, grouping of product vision and agile vision. And with Clarity, you're able to populate down releases, requirements, product status, cost, that sort of thing. And then when you couple that with execution in Software Change Manager, you have a really good transition and close the loop, if you will, for change management as well as for all the other things associated with governance, such as resource control, timelines, current status, activities, and that sort of thing. And we'll be demonstrating that today. One of the goals of this integration is the fact that you can support multiple development processes. And so on the left-hand side, in the workbench, you're able to associate a requirement or a user story or a task to a CA SCM package. Now, if you're using just a waterfall or a more traditional approach, you're going to associate more on the requirements. A requirement comes in, you associate one or more project packages to that and accomplish it. But if you get into the more agile methodology, that's where the user story and the user task associated to it become important. But you're able to either from within the workbench, the different vision tab, or from the CA SCM Workbench Explorer tab, you're able to associate left and right, and you can see it. And so the value there is you're going to leverage technology to simplify and reduce the administrative overhead, and also make it easier for the developers. You're also able to associate the time involved with that activity. So as we see here, you can be in the workbench, and as you do your activities, you can actually post your working hours that you've accomplished, in the working of that particular fix. You're able to capture that. And so for product managers, for developer managers, and for developers themselves, they don't have to go to another product to do this. They don't have to step out and do this in a manual process, or directly log into the old Clarity workbench where you could log in and do it. They can do it right from within the interface itself, associate the hours to the time that they've done against that task. So again, improving resource management. Now the integration that came out in the winter release of Service Pack 3 does provide that end-to-end traceability, and it does support the unification of the application lifecycle management. The leverage point, if you will, the integration point between Clarity, on or off premise, and Software Change Manager is the PVAV, which is run out of Salesforce.com, the cloud, if you will. And so it makes it a lot easier to manage the closed loop. It gives you that greater traceability, and it also allows for really good integration, as we're going to see as we go through this thing. So some of the other highlights that came out in Service Pack 3 was the integration, of course, with PV and AV, but also there was some important improvements in the web user interface. We did pick up the certification of the Oracle RAC and support for Eclipse 3.6, if you will, 3.6, and RAD. And we did pick up the preview package dependency, and I'll be touching a little bit on that today, but we'll actually have a more in-depth discussion in a later presentation. So CA Software Change Manager continues to provide key industry leadership. And these are the areas that we either have unique features or we have differentiation with the competition. And a lot of you use CA Software Change Managers. These are key points as you talk about what your product does or what our products do in support of your process. The worldwide development and centralized infrastructure is a key unique feature, if you will. The integration with Clarity through the PVAV. We have the on-demand projects, which allow for, one-off sprints, that sort of thing. We have the work area that synchronizes between whatever tool you're using and Software Change Manager. That enhances or makes it easier to integrate products in different user IDs, or IDEs, if you will. And for differentiation, we have that fully functional web user interface. We have a really good and market-leading Eclipse integration. And we have the business objects integration. And I'll be showing those today as I do the demonstration. So really what it comes down to is we're going to be talking in a lot of today about release management. And there's a lot of key activities in release management from the time a release is created all the way through the deployment. And in a lot of companies, these key steps, the change being identified, being positioned, being planned, being presented to the developer to do, all the way through deployment, there's a lot of manual processes that people go through to make this happen. There are turnover organizations. There are a lot of hand carrying around, FTPing, electronic transfer, that sort of thing of information that really slows the process down and makes it more difficult to understand if a change in priority comes in. Did it actually register into the development, or what is the current status of a particular user story task or requirement? A lot of these are done in manual processes, and you're going to see today that can be actually reduced to a lot of electronic integration. So, for example, as a project manager in Clarity, you're looking at the deliverable and the hours and the cost. And as you look at the numbers here, the question in your mind is how accurate are they real time? And as you're going to see in integration, they're real time as of the latest synchronization of the product. And you can set that yourself, so they can be near real time. But you're able to look at the different sprints, you're able to look at the timelines and the actual cost associated with that. And so now you have improved tracking of actual versus projected costs, and you have a improved product management of the deliverables. You're not going to get sidelined by the deliverable coming in later than projected. You're going to know the status of it. The release manager's perspective, you're looking at the different factors associated with the release. So from an Agile perspective, you're looking at what is the status of all the user stories in this release, and where are they now in the process. Because as we get closer to the release, I'd like to see most of those in progress or actually completed. And I don't need to have a series of meetings to accomplish that. You're able to do that from the information provided in Product Vision, Agile Vision. Also, if you're dealing from a traditional perspective, you're looking at releases with requirements. And again, you need to see where are they at in the status as we go through our development process. Traceability for accountability and compliance are key. As a developer, you're interested in looking at the changes that you have been assigned and as much detailed information about what needs to be done that's coordinated and already been provided by the product manager and the release manager. And you're going to see that in the interface. So, for example, on this interface here, you see that I'm looking at a particular package. I'm looking at the requirement that's associated to it, the user story, and the task associated to that change package I'm working with. So now we have better collaboration across the team and better development awareness of what needs to be done. We're also able to associate and see in the change package, as you know with Software Change Manager, we're able to actually look at the change package and see the versions that are captured associated with that. So this improves the traceability not just for the developer, but back up into the product set. Here is a shot that shows the relationship and is from Software Change Manager, but you're able to see the requirements are in pink, salmon color, if you will, on the left, all the way through the user stories, the tasks, and the change packages associated with them. And this is just an example, and you can copy this off for a report if you need to, or you can certainly show the traceability. But it's an easy way to show the heads-up capability that this integration provides you. And so without further ado, I'd like to move into a physical demonstration. And now that we've looked at the integration in a model setting, I'd like to demonstrate that key functionality we have discussed. So I'll switch over to my desktop and move forward. Can I get some feedback? Do you see the screen?
Yep, we do.
Okay. So here we are I've got three environments here. I've got a Software Change Manager, I've got a Clarity environment, and I've got a deployment environment. And we're going to spend most of our time over in the Software Change environment. And in development, I'm going to be using the Eclipse interface for this. But the Eclipse interface, as you know, is very similar to the Software Change Manager workbench. And in the Eclipse interface, I've gone ahead and created a change package, this 313 alpha. And I've been able to associate it to a user story merely by going over to the CA Vision Perspective tab and selecting the particular user story I want to work with and the task associated to it, and right-clicking and doing a associate with another SCM package. And so, very straightforward process allows me to do that. I'm able to look at my relational diagram, and I'll double-click that, and I can see that here I am at here's my requirement, here's my user story, here's the task I'm actually working on, and there's a change package that I'm working through. So it allows me to keep my mind in the game as to what I'm working on and what is involved in this as it goes back up all the way into the requirement itself. Simple double click will bring me down. There we go. There we go. So here I am doing the particular work. And what I'm going to do now is change over, and you see I have several tabs that I actually work with. The CA Vision tab lets me see my requirements, my sprints, and my user stories as I need to sort them. And I have a peer review tab and a navigator tab and an explorer tab. And here in Eclipse, I'm going to go over to my explorer tab, make a quick synchronization, and do a change, if you will, on the product. Go to my Java perspective, synchronize, go through the typical steps that you would go through. Edit your context, make sure you've associated you're going to associate your work to the change package that you need to do the work in. Make a quick review, if you will, of the processes that you have available to you. Check out, check in, that sort of a thing. As you may work on a branch or the trunk, as the case may be. And then go in and actually begin doing the work on the library that you need to change. So I'm going to make a quick change in here. And I'm going to touch a file that is involved, and it would actually get involved with a build, kick off a build. So let me go down here and make this a change this from LL4 items to spam. I'll save that locally. Then I'm working in my local environment. I could be working as in a branch or a trunk environment, wherever the case may be. But one thing now that I've done that, I need to make sure that I have synchronized to get anybody else's change that come through here. And when I'm satisfied that I don't have a situation where I have to merge, I'm going to go ahead and synchronize and commit it. Now, most of you have seen this functionality, so I hope it's not new, but it's it basically reflects the optimistic approach to development. And I'll go ahead and commit it to the repository. Now, there could be a lot of things associated with my activities over here. I could do a build if I needed to do that. I can come back over to my software change manager perspective. I could here, at this point in time, I've actually committed the change 10. I have an opportunity to elect to accomplish a peer review. And peer review came out in Service Pack 2, but it allows for collaboration across 2 developers or multiple developers looking at a code change before it gets promoted forward. But I can also, if I don't have that as a process and able to do it, I can also come in now and select the post-working hours time. So I can come in here and say, fine, I worked on this particular task. It took me about a half an hour to do that, and I'll go ahead and commit that. So I'm able to, right within my workbench, do my edits, checkouts, merging, comparing, do a local build if I need to do that. And when I'm done, account for my work hours. And I'll come back over here to CA Vision. And there's a feature, a synchronization feature, if you will, that occurs across CA Vision and Software Change Manager. And generally this synchronization occurs every 20, 30 minutes, every hour, whatever the case may be. But I'm going to do this on demand to show that it can be done on demand. And it allows me to associate that. I can say yes. And now whatever I've done is going to synchronize over to CA Vision. So let's drop out of here quickly and go over to that CA Vision location. look at some activities that may have occurred over there. So I'll log in to CA Vision. And you're generally given a user ID and you set your own password. Make sure I get the right password. Log in. And when I log into CA Vision, I land on a Vision tab. Welcome to CA Vision. And it's basically a listing of activities that are associated with what my name drives. And so I can select that CA Vision tab, and I did the code change to the interface was the value that I selected. And that was my task, and I have an associated user story to that. Let me go ahead and select that user story just to show you that my time has been synchronized over there and my changes committed is actually been accounted for. So there's my user story, update the mailbox. It's in a particular, notice how I have an identification of that particular user story. I have the product information right here, the name of the product, the release, the sprint that I'm working on if I'm working in that agile methodology perspective, and some additional information about it, including the change package information that's here. And as we go into that, I can look at that change package and see, some current information about it. So right from within here, I'm able to see some of the history of that change package. It's currently still in development. And there are some code changes, and so I'm able to capture that. So we have great traceability as we go through this thing. Let me get back up to Agile Vision. And the other thing that is of interest is another part of that solution, which is the virtual wall. And the virtual wall is where a lot of developers are going to go to find out what is available and what is needed to be done. And by coming over to the virtual wall, they see a representation. It's more of a Kanban or Kanban approach to it, but it's a presentation that says, here are the various user stories that you have that you're working on and the current progress of them. Either they're planned or they're in progress or they're closed. And if they're closed, you can see some of them over here. I've actually done some work on them. And so it's a way for developers to, again, go back and look for the loose ends, look for that last little piece that needs to be done right now to get it in place. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close out of there and come back to my story over on the Software Change Manager side. I'm over here now, and what I need to do is get ready to prepare to move this thing forward or promote this package up in the life cycle. And what I can do before the promotion occurs is I have a way to show package dependency. And I'm going to, getting ready to promote this thing forward. Let me go ahead and select that promote to just to test. And as part of that promote to test, it's going to, there is a tab up here, this new in Service Pack 3, that lets you see if there's any dependent code, any other code out there that if you check this or promote this forward, you would create a dependency problem. And by selecting that tab, you either get a no or you get an identification of a package that is dependent that you need to also promote at the same time. So I didn't see that, so it checked that I did it, and I can now go ahead and promote it. And what I'm accomplishing here is a promotion from one state to another state. And I'm going to build in, or I have built in, a continuous integration build with OpenMake behind the scenes. And so continuous integration builds are a real key aspect of the Agile process for development. And so generally where they build them in is either on a commit, a check-in, if you will, or a promotion forward, something like that. would create a build of the product with your changes plus the other stuff that's out of development that's in good shape. And so let me look at a little bit about that. I have out of OpenMake, I have a health report that actually allows me to bring it up and look and see if there's any changes in there. I'm doing this Metalworks CI build, and I'm seeing that my latest run 68, was successful, and it's been pretty successful as we go through. And a continuous integration build is done again with the approved source plus whatever changes the individual user has is either committed forward or is checked in, something like that. So it's easy to track a build error right back to the person involved in it. And you can see I'm doing a lot of those builds. I'm doing, the 68 builds, and it's only happening if I change a source file, a particular type of a file, not a documentation file or something like that, or a text file, but it's something that has to be rebuilt. And so I'm actually doing just a very efficient build process and seeing that I'm not having any problems with the build. And so my story now leaves the developer perspective and goes more over to the QA perspective, the QA aspect of it. So I'll log in over here in Workbench, and I come over to my Metalworks process, and here I'll get back over to my Explorer perspective, and here I have my test package, and I'll refresh that so I can see him in there. He's in there now, and there's no other package groups or packages in there. And the challenge you face in testing is to get that actual build of for audit purposes, of the approved code before you move forward into a production environment. And so I'll kick that process off with the build again with OpenMake of the actual full build for audit purposes that I need to have done. And I'll kick that off, and that'll launch a behind-the-scenes Metalworks build. And some of these builds involve, or is desirable to have them involve static testing, JUnit, EMMA, those kind of things, to provide a better certification or better coverage of your test plan, your test cases against a particular build. And so a lot of static testing can be leveraged. Let me get over here. The build is occurring on this particular machine because with OpenMake I can build wherever I need to build, wherever it's more efficient to build. I have 3 systems here, and I'm choosing to build this particular one on the system that I'm on. Let me get close that guy out. I'll actually close out of there. And I want to bring up OpenMake Meister, which is giving me an indication of where my builds are. And with OpenMake Meister, I'm able to look at some various information in this management console. And the value of the management console is it's going to collect all the builds, whether it's continuous integration builds that are occurring wherever they're occurring, or any of the waterfall full builds, if you will. It brings all the build information, all the success or failures, that sort of stuff, into a unified interface as we go forward. So you don't have to punt and peck and walk around in act status. You can actually see it. And I'm able to look as we go through this thing of the actual information that's associated to it. Let me go ahead and log back in. Get the latest off the KB server. And I can see it. I can also look at my workflows. The latest run of the workflow. Now, I know I did my latest run was this Metalworks build file, if you will, that occurred just a few minutes ago. So I need to see the status of that. I'm able to see the audit reports from that, the explosion report, the implosion report, the log details, if you will, and any of the static testing that's associated to it. I'm able to see the results of that. I'm also able to capture in this particular setup, I'm capturing the binaries associated with it, the Metalworks jar file and the bill of materials as bona fides. And what this does is it lets you distribute easier and quicker from a test environment the build material. So if you need to do something with this, you can go ahead and download it. You're able to download that binary right to wherever you need to do it. But that shows the power of OpenMake to unify that build management solution, capture the key information as we go forward. So let me minimize that guy. I come back over to Software Change Manager. I now have a package group with a build associated with it, and I have captured, as you can see here, a bill of materials, a jar file, and the actual version I checked in was version 10. And so version 10 should be in this bill of materials file. So I'll pop that open. We'll be able to see or actually get it. There we go. So there was the results of the build. The machine it was on, the environment variables associated with it, all the way through the key information as to the contents according to the version, and there's my version 10. So again, I have good in-depth auditability coverage of the process. Now that I know that I've got all that, I'm going to go ahead in this package group and associate the change package with the source packages that I modified, and there could be many of them. In this case, I have just one that I'm putting in here. I'll bind those together and go ahead and promote those forward. So as is my role now would be QA, and I'm certifying that this build is available for deployment, and I want to capture and approve these to go forward to software deployment purposes into operational control, and I'm certifying that they're good, and I'm tracking that information as we go forward. Now I can go forward in time and actually, go through the whole deployment, but what we can do with Software Change Manager and software delivery or in the release environment is I can deploy, small amounts of code or simple deployments out of CA Software Change Manager. We have the full, IT client manager capability of deploying across the enterprise, multiple locations, deployment on demand, and reporting, that sort of thing through IT Client Manager. And I can also find the middle ground there with IT Process Automation Management to actually deploy, code, on a very tactical perspective, but there may be a lot of steps associated. So that's where process automation can integrate. So I have a lot of options to deploy software from Software Change Manager. I know I'm getting the exact version. It's just a question of what's most efficient for me to do. And when I move into the release environment, what I need to be able to do in the release environment is see what's currently in release and being able also to capture snapshots and show differences between releases. And so these snapshots allow me to do that. They allow me to say between release 22 and release 9, what actually was changed. And so snapshots allow you to do that. That aside, let's look a little bit about the reporting capabilities. We have some reporting capabilities associated with business objects, and I've got some sample reports of what that would look like. Here's a report out of business objects that you can save off to a desktop, if you will, or you can go in the product and actually bring it up that way. And I'll make this full screen so you can see it. But it's a colorful report that shows, based upon the release that I'm going through, where are my efforts right now? And I can see I have, code in, the various lifecycle states and whether it's associated with a package and a task, and you can see that. And then the details are down here showing, which product, which release, which title of that task is, the package associated to it, all the way across. And this is a great, audit tool and also release management tool to show where are we in the release now, how close are we to actually getting this thing ready to be deployed. Because as I go through it, as a release manager, I need to see all of my changes are in that SCM state of either software deployment or in the release location, ready to be released. And a report like this will easily close that out for you. The other thing I can do is get an idea of the deployments. And this is another sample report coming out of software, out of business objects, which shows, here's the status of releases as you're going forward. So here, and I won't bore you too much with details, but I'm pretty good as far as the Metalworks project. I've got a pretty high deployment capability, and I actually see the details of the software delivery status report, when it was released, to what target it went to, and what is the success or failure of it. So I have some release, and again, with business objects, I can see that. Let's go over to the workbench. Because I have a lot of capabilities within CA Vision integration to also look at reporting. So I want to go over here to the reports. I can see the Vision reports, and they come out in the format of a BIRT type report. Let's look at this release-based report. I select it, set a couple parameters up. Metalworks, if you will, the release that I'm on. And once I do, those parameters provide the arguments, if you will. It's going to generate the report. And the report, then, I can double-click it and get it to expand up. And I can see a real-time report based upon my current status in the release of this particular 1.0. And you can see that I do have a package in software delivery, which we know because I just promoted it up there. And it's this particular sprint. It's this one right here, 3.1.3 alpha, which is today's package. And so it's either on time or I can choose to save it off and export it out. Let's go back to the original view. And so that pretty much wraps up the integration that I wanted to cover. I'm open the line up for questions and answers at this time.
If you wish to ask an audio question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad.
You have a question in the queue.
Mm-hmm. Says what version of OpenMake is Mark using?
Oh yeah, I'm using OpenMake 7.4. There was a patch that came out for it, but I'm using 7.4.
So is that the latest version available in SP3, or is that the SP2 version?
Yeah, the answer is if you have the premium library or license, if you will, you download the latest version from CA or from OpenMake, and it'll work. So 7.4 is what you get with if you have a license, a premium license, you just download it. Now, some of the downloads, the one that's up in the link, and Kevin is on the line. The one that's up in the link, I believe, is 7.4, because that's what I downloaded to set up my demo. Does that answer your question, or? Because I'm getting ready to bring it up here. Yeah, 7.4. Now, the thing that you normally see in 7.4 is this interface. When you log in, you'll see these kind of interfaces, and this is more from a build setup, that sort of a thing. build, creation of builds, great activities, and linking those in. What I showed you was the management console, which is more of a web-based tool, which gives you a lot of capabilities as far as looking at the home report, if you will. I can look at my latest runs. I can look at my servers. If I have to set up a build pools, here I've got a couple build pools set up. I've got a Windows pool with 2 Windows servers that accept workflows. And so this demo that I have allows me to do builds accept builds from different locations and build them on these particular servers. So you're able to, from this interface, actually create these pools. And this is really good for continuous integration, because now I can have a lot of different servers out there using the development version, approved version of the code, plus that individual user's code, and get a quick return on that continuous integration build. I've got some report capabilities. I can also go to the cloud if I need to go to the cloud and set up a build environment in a cloud environment, Amazon or a virtual environment, and actually leverage builds out there. So however many builds you need to do, there's a lot of capability within this tool to let you go out and do those builds with the correct versions and the correct arguments, if you will, for that process to be accomplished. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yep, it looked like he replied back on the live meeting that answered it.
Okay.
Mark, this is Neil. I have a question. Could you talk a little bit about the subscription-based service of the PAV or PVAV, and then what sort of installation or configuration is required, once you have a subscription?
Oh yeah. Let me do a little bit about that. I'll start in that answer up here in the clarity perspective, because there's 2 ways we can actually gain the integration. Let me get a doggone Explorer here. There we go. Okay. I'm going to log in to Clarity. And Clarity is I can probably do it through favorites, be better off. There we go. This is Clarity 13. And so when I'm setting up an integration, I would go in as an administrator, and there is a couple of files we set up. Log in. Well, that's cool. That's a little bit better. Okay, as an administrator, and this guy's really a project manager. I can show you more than actually demonstrate the actual setup. But it didn't take me but maybe 30 minutes, an hour to set up the integration. And I haven't set up Clarity today. That's why it's loading a little bit slower. But you.
So is it a project by project within Clarity, or is it a Big Bang theory?
Yeah, it is a Big Bang theory. You set it up in this administration CA Vision, lets you set up a username that's the administrator username and passwords, and it gives you that URL. And once you have that capability, you come over to your projects, and you're able to then select do you or do you not want this project to have a product vision capability. So if I come over to my Metalworks, you'll see where that is. So again, it is a Big Bang. It is a Big Bang, and then you select, here's the particular pack of project that I want, by project, do I want it linked to CA Vision? Then once you get the project linked to CA Vision, then you go ahead and create normally you would set up a product and a release. And once you identify a product and a release like Metalworks and Metalworks Release 1.0, that's when you synchronize. And when you synchronize out of here, you're running a job. I won't go into too much detail, but you run it. You just select a job to run. As a manager, you would select a job to run, and it would be that CA Vision product sync job. And once you do that, it drives down into product vision the key information that you need. So let me go over to the product vision side.
So from a Big Bang Theory, it's either on or off, and then going down to the project level, you can specify whether it uses the vision products.
Correct.
Or not. Okay, that's great.
Correct. And then the product vision is when that synchronized job comes in, the product vision picks it up, and you would not see this tab if you didn't have product management capability. But it actually comes in then in the form of a product and a release. And then over here, you can actually create your requirements and features, synchronize them back if you need to, but certainly you're going to synchronize them down into Agile Vision. And in Agile Vision, they come in the form of this sprint information and that virtual wall, where you're now able to look at user stories because you have requirements and you have features that you're working on. And so for each requirement, you can create a user story. Right within that requirement page is a create a new user story. And right within the user story page is a create a new task capability. So that's how you build it down. And once they pick that up, they synchronize. You'll see them on the wall. You'll see them here on the interface that you're looking at here. And I have various filters I can go through, so you'll see that I can filter this thing and only see my stuff, which is kind of cool, because I don't need to. There'll be a lot of people in a subscription environment that could be working here, but I only need to see the Metalworks, and so I can filter for the Metalworks that are active or not completed, and not closed. So that's what I've done here. I'm able to select it and easily look at what I'm doing. That kind of answer your question?
Yep, that's great. And then from the perspective of linking CA SCM into the whole mix,
so
is there any specific setup on a given project that would require you to link into the Vision products?
Well, I can set up some of that here from within CA Vision. I can go ahead and say, associate a CA Vision product release and then configure the lifecycle. So this lets me go out and say, here's what I want to associate this project with over in Agile Vision. So I would select what I'm working on, the one I'm working on. In this case, it's going to be Metalworks, and then the release 1.0. You already see it set up, but that's what you would see. You have a capability of creating the linkage right there.
And you can select multiple SCM projects?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's many to one or one to many. And the other thing you can do then is is actually go through each individual life cycle and say, this is when development is done, and this is when the QA is done. And these update the status in AV as well as over into Clarity, because they're tracking what is development in process, or is it done? Is QA in process or done? And you're able to associate it there. And once you've got that done, and there's a couple of things like a DFO file you need to have, for the integration to work behind the scenes, but the documentation is pretty straightforward on that. Then you should see this. So again, it took me a little bit more time to walk through it, but if I had to do it a second or third time, you're under an hour to set it up.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else?
If you wish to ask an audio question, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. There are no audio questions at this time.
I'll turn it back over to you, Neil.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we'll let everyone have a half hour back to their day. If you could take a moment on the live meeting and answer the survey that we have up there to rate the value of today's webcast topic. We'll pull those, and next quarter, I know Mark had mentioned and went into a little detail on the package dependency feature that's available in our 12.1 SP3. Again, it is available. You're able to go out there and download it from the CA website. We will go into some more details on that package dependency functionality that's available in SP3. If anybody has any questions or would like to present anything, an integration that you're working on at your company, or if you'd like to see a specific topic, please reach out to myself. My information's on the community board on the MyCA page. Please do so, and we will talk to you next quarter. If there's no other questions, I think we can disconnect. Thanks, everyone.
Neil, I think there's another question there. I don't know if Mark had seen that already.
Oh, okay. Follow-up to the Eclipse release question. With each service pack, CA drops support for older Eclipse pieces. Is it backward compatible, or are we losing? Can we expand the number of releases in the past? Kevin, this might be a question for you.
Yeah, let me answer that. Tim, basically right now we have this policy, support policy is pretty much the across the about 3 version. You know, we cannot continue to extend out to support the older version. But again, if you have some specific need, please escalate that your need will take the consideration. And we cannot cover very wide range, and with that limited, you know, kind of a support we have, right? So, do you have any specific need on your usage situation right now? Can you kind of speak out what kind of example you have? Tim, are you there? No, maybe his line is on mute. So.
Online question. So he wasn't on the phone line.
Oh, he's not on the phone.
Okay. All right. Anyway, the CA policy.
Kevin, I'll respond to him and give him my email if he has any follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Christy, can you just make a shout out to see if there are any more questions, please?
Yes, ma'am, I sure can. If you wish to ask an audio question, please press *1 on your telephone keypad.